Postcards sell Colorado as clean and blue. Up here, the air forgets its manners. Minds breathe with the fans shut off. Tunnels answer before you speak. Off-season towns memorize your footsteps and give them back. These accounts are drawn from first-hand testimonies, night shift logs, and witness statements that never stopped echoing. For safety, some names and locations have been adjusted. The fear remains unchanged. Carry rules like matches. Don't answer a perfect whistle. Don't test the same latch twice the same way. And if a ledger writes your name before you do, don't read that line. This isn't a tour. It's confession. Routine work, small patterns. Then the turn, when a place learns you. You're watching Horror Nexus. Tonight, I'm going to tell you 5 true, disturbing Colorado horror stories, as they were lived and never fully escaped. The boiler coughed, and the pressure needle flirted with red. I leaned on the union, gave the bonnet a quarter turn, and told the gauge to stop lying. Name's Evan Rios, 28. Seasonal caretaker at the old stamp mill above Silver Plume. I don't believe in ghosts, just stuck valves and winter with bad timing. The mill sits 3 switchbacks above town, nailed together with 1880s stubbornness. Wind finds plank seams. At night, the freeway below sounds like a river that forgot its road. My loop is simple when it behaves. Freeze lines, catwalk boards, radiator bleeds with the little square key, then logbook, because if it isn't written, winter calls it gossip. The office latch has a rhythm. Half lift, small right twist, full pull. Old metal remembers hands. Inside smelled like dry paper and coffee that died in 2004. I wrote, 1807, outside -8 degrees Celsius. Boiler stable, vent fans off, alone. The fans have been dead a decade, fuses gone as souvenirs. Still, the mill breathes. Boards inhale in gusts, timbers exhale when iron warms. You feel it through boot soles, the way you feel a cat jump onto the bed. West Gallery, All Room, the ladder with the sulking side rail. Faded chalk X's mark safe catwalk planks. Past the ore bin, the tall tally board hangs. Level 1 clear. Level 2 drift flooded. Level 3 caved. The old cage sits braked at 1. Cables looped like tired snakes. Stand too long at the mouth and cold climbs your shins like a cat choosing a lap. Snow grains ticked tin like sand. When I came back by the shaft, the tally board wore a new line. Fresh, white, smug. 0812, Evan Inn. I don't write on that board. That's for crews that died or left. Glove off, I rubbed it. Chalk blurred. But underneath, my name had been pressed deeper, as if traced with a harder hand. A tone rose in the ducting, low, not wind, edges like breath. The panel was dead, fuses missing, switches stiff like pressed flowers. Stop, I told the room, soft, the way you talk to a dog that could still bite. Silence held. 3 beats. Thermos. Lid creak. Tin taste. In the logbook, my last lines had been retraced with hard pencil, the R in Rios cut deeper than I wrote. Pressure digits too, dark as if someone loved them more than me. Then the knock came on the timber beside the cage. 3. Pause. 2. 2. 3. Old miner code, patient and exact. I didn't answer. You don't answer perfect things. Rules up here. Count breaths, not miles, when the air goes thin. Don't test a latch the same way twice. Write what you see, don't speak what you want to be false. The cage shivered, not moved, just adjusted posture a fraction. Loose chain ticked like an apology. The control lever was locked and tagged, zip tie crisp, padlock honest cold. I keep it that way to keep myself honest. On the tally board, my office time, 1807, ghosted under level 1, as if someone had pressed the logbook page against slate and rubbed a copy. Ghost math, familiar handwriting, not my pressure. My vest radio was off. Still, it woke, Evan, level 1, in my voice. Again, with the exact tired drop I put at the end of my name. I flicked power on, then off. It behaved by becoming silent. I worked small human chores, rebent a cotter pin that had nagged 3 weeks, tapped frost off a pipe saddle. Small work is a shield you can hold without shaking. At the West Gallery, the window fogged on the inside, not a bloom but a pulse. In, out, in the knock cadence. Practicing, getting clean. I wiped it with my sleeve and felt pain cold travel my arm and sit in the elbow like rent. When I turned, the cage sat a hair nearer, not down, not up, nearer, enough that the hinge angle was wrong by a degree my hand understood. Cable lay had one more tightness in it, like a breath drawn to speak. Home. Freeway lullaby. I ate a sandwich with diesel hands and called it medicine. I washed them twice anyway. They still smelled like old iron and coin. At 2:17 a.m., the apartment CO alarm blinked 19 parts per million. No furnace, no stove. Thin number where no mine should be. It chirped once and stopped. Then the wall behind my headboard knocked. 3. Pause. 2. 2. 3. I moved the bed. It knocked again, same rhythm, polite. From lower in the wall, as if it had learned the studs. I breathed wrong until dizzy. The alarm forgot how to be brave. Next night, 2:17 again, 19 parts per million again. Not dangerous, not nothing. A number that wants conversation. I removed the batteries. It chirped a farewell and died. Silence sat down on the couch like a house guest who won't take a hint. I went back because rent doesn't respect hauntings. Morning made the mill look reasonable, the way light forgives bad ideas. The board had been cleaned, fresh black, 2 tidy lines in chalk, not ours. Under level 1, clear, Evan in, Evan out. No times, just me, written as a door. I chalked on the far corner, fat carpenter stick, don't answer perfect things. By the time the sentence ended, my letters were traced deeper. I let the rule stand. If something's going to learn me, let it learn a warning. I checked the lockout again. Shackle snug, tag legible, date mine, signature mine, twice. I ran a hand along the cable lay, counting strands like rosary. At the gate, the lattice flexed once when I breathed at it wrong. The room and I practiced patience on each other. The radio, no battery, gave a single, dry hiss, like a man about to speak and deciding against it. I set it face down and told it good. End of shift. I copied numbers to the clipboard for the county man who never comes. Outside, the wind had dropped. Snow made a sound like someone dragging a sleeve across a sheet. Soft, endless. Down the switchbacks, the world widened. Trucks threw light against canyon walls. The river below wore its same black coat. At the diner, Val poured coffee without looking. "Up there again?" she asked. "Yup." "Leave 'em alone and they leave you alone," she said to the mug. She meant elk. I answered like she meant people. She let me. "What works up here? Count breaths, not miles." Don't test a latch the same way twice. Lock and tag the lever even if you think it's theater. Write what you see and file what tries to write you. And if a knock returns your rhythm exactly, do not answer. Since then, sometimes the duct sings a long, low vowel when wind forgets itself. Sometimes the radio says my name like it belongs to the room. Sometimes, right at 2:17, I remember a chirp from a device I threw away, and my hand changes on the latch before I open any door. Up becomes down, pause replaces pull, so metal unlearns me. Last week, a white envelope sat on my mat. No stamp. Inside, graphite rubbings from a slate. Evan in/Evan out. My R pressed deep, my T crossed too low. No note, just practice I didn't agree to. I bought a new lock for the mill anyway. Shiny things make fear do paperwork. When I fitted it, the hasp holes lined up without me forcing them. They don't usually. The door felt pleased. I keep my rules like matches. Count breaths, change hands, file what writes you. Leave when the room starts to improve your stride. If you visit Silver Plume in winter and hear a powered-off cage adjust like a man clearing his throat, do ordinary things you can prove. Note it. Breathe wrong on purpose. Change your hand. Leave. The board will keep its grooves. Your name will fit cuts you didn't carve. But you'll make the switchbacks, hear the freeway pretend to be river, and lay your head against a wall that for a night or two doesn't answer back. That isn't escape. It's practice. Control 2B cross passage clear. White hiss. 8 seconds later, Control 2B cross passage clear in my mouth. Same comma breath. I hadn't keyed my mic. Names Marisol Vega, 34. Night maintenance, Eisenhower Johnson tunnels. I count lights, air, and bolts that want to loosen. I write things down. It keeps fear busy. Graveyard has a smell. Ozone, hot dust, brake pad ghost. Concrete and tile make a throat through the mountain. Fans hum in your molars. When they ramp, your ribs answer first. Loop start, west bore. Camera 23 flicker, logged. Drip at expansion joint K, logged. CO/NO2 ladder, blue LEDs, steady. Cross-passage doors every so many meters, each with badge, panic hardware, and a reed switch that likes to be noticed. 2B's latch knows my hand. Half lift, push, one stubborn inch, then manners. Tonight it moved a beat early, like metal trying to meet me. Don't, I told the door. Habit, not humor. Badge tap, green blink. System took 2 hours, 19 minutes, 34 seconds. 8 seconds later, my radio repeated my line back. Perfect. Echo happens. Bleed on the net. Board operator. Fine. But the file version of me always misses the vowel I break when I'm tired. This one didn't. I walked the cross passage anyway. Tile cool, air tugging sleeves, negative pressure. Overhead vent louver thumped once, closed, then open. Not wind. Decision. I stood under and counted because counting is the only polite language down here. 1, 2, 3. Pause. 2, 2, 3. Old code, wrong century. Back in the bore, traffic lanes closed for the night crew. Our side had cathedral quiet. On camera 19, I watched my own shoulders slip behind a pier. 2 seconds later, again, same gate, wrong time. I wrote it down to turn superstition into math. 2C door tried my micro twist, timey wrist habit I never teach. Quit, I told the latch. It backed off a hair, like a kid hoping for a sticker. Control, test tone on maintenance, I said, to humor the system. Silence. Then my test tone came back from the concrete, 8 seconds behind me, like the mountain rehearsing my line. I badged 2, E-hinge squeaked. I keep meaning to lube it. Inside, a dead fan nudged its vanes half a degree and sighed like a book closing. I palmed the plenum wall. Cold, then less cold, where ghost flow leaned in. No new tricks after 2:30, I told the room. The room did not promise anything. Marisol, north vent status? Control voice, no call sign. North vent steady, I said. 8 seconds later, I heard myself say it with the same fake calm breath. Then a little tongue click that belongs behind my teeth, not inside a radio. We carry a rules card no one reads until they need to prove they tried. On the back are mine. Don't repeat a motion the same way twice. Don't stand under anything that counts you. Count breaths, not distance. File what tries to write you. At 2F, the dead man phone behind glass wore moisture inside the case. Phones don't sweat. I wiped the pane, left a handprint I didn't like. A tiny doorbell chime sounded from the cradle, then line open to nothing. I walked away with my back behaving like a dare. The big jet fans overhead ramped 1 notch, sound like 100 shirts catching wind. Air pressed my chest. Indoor voice, please. Side alcove console flickered to a menu I don't casually get. Vent shutter grouping. 5 boxes, 4 gray, 1 pulsing. That page requires login. I hadn't logged in. The pulsing box thumped its real shutter down the line, then up, then a little pattern. 1, pause, 1, 2. Then my employee ID walked across the screen in block digits, last 4, whole number, and finally, Vega M, uppercase, diacritics stripped, the way the system says you correctly and wrong at once. Control? Anyone remoted into shutters? I asked. Silence. Then my question came back from 8 seconds away, complete with the laugh I hadn't let out yet. Ahead, air shimmered like heat. It wasn't heat. 2G door anticipated me perfectly. I changed my hand, push first, no lift, flat palm mid-rail. The door forgot me, stuttered, then behaved. Small victory. Inside, the cross-passage lights hiccuped and held. The camera dome turned to the center, then to me, then to a spot beside me where no one stood. It pointed at absence like a good dog. Report received, the radio said in my mother's calm. I hadn't reported anything. Along the bore, the shutters ticked in sequence, not ramp, not wind, counting again. 1, 2, 3, pause. 2, 2, 3. Then a faster whisper stroke like steel gossip. In the alcove, I opened the panel. No login. Event log empty for 5 minutes. Timestamp read 022752. 8 seconds later, 22752 again, as if the system preferred that minute to all others. At 2J, a maintenance cart waited that shouldn't have. New plastic smell. Our carts smell like oil. On deck, a keycard with my name printed right and my photo from 3 contracts ago. My real badge sat on my chest. Keys are promises. Tummels collect oaths for sport. I didn't touch it. Monitors showed me in 3 times, behind me walking past, ahead approaching the cart now, and sideways standing beside it, head turned left. I turned right out of spite. The side feed turned my head left anyway. You can fold a lot of fear into procedure. I wrote, Stray cart 2J, daylight inspection. I wrote, camera desync, 8 seconds offset. I wrote, shutters ghost page. I wrote, latch learning hand. Then I did the only real thing. Finish the loop. In the switchgear room, air goes dry and warm. The quiet kind, big current keeps. Temperature strips fine. Desiccant fine. Housekeeping fine. Behind me, the door lock chimed the valid card beep. Handle depressed and rose. No one entered. I stood where a person would be, so my theatrical lizard brain could survive its own rules. After you, I told the room. Air accepted the courtesy. Back at the alcove, a work order populated on the feed with my login. Louver test complete, pattern verified. Operator Vega, M sentence. Bones were mine. I hadn't typed it. Control, log ghost work order, request IT audit, I keyed. Silence. Then my line returned 8 seconds later with my petty word, ghost, intact. At the portal, night looked bigger than mountains. Wind didn't need me. Stars did their old job. Home at 3:08 a.m., my apartment lock gave the tunnel door tone when I turned the key. Single, polite beep. From inside, a reader except I don't own. I stood breathing like money. Kitchen. One soft louver thunk, open, close. I changed my hand on my own bedroom door, push first, no lift. The door forgot me and stayed polite. Next night, 0308 again, phone buzz. Work order complete for a system I can't reach from home. Task, cross passage 2B secure, operator Vega, M. Location ping, my couch. I turned the screen face down. The apartment hummed for a heartbeat like jet fans at half-tooth. If you need rules that buy you daylight, don't repeat emotion the same way, doors learn. Don't stand center under anything that counts you. Count breaths, not distance when air gets heavy. File what tries to write you. When your voice returns 8 seconds ahead, let it, but don't follow. I still walk the bore. Cameras still try to show me in 2 places when I'm only earning 1 paycheck. The doors like me too much now. I'm teaching them to forget. I change my hand. I change it again. I don't stop under louvers that say my name. Sometimes a fan ramps half a notch when the board swears nobody touched it. Sometimes the dead man phone chimes once, pretty as a doorbell. Sometimes at exactly 3:08, my apartment lock gives that soft beep to a badge I don't carry at home. This isn't a haunting. It's a system that learned a pattern and asked me to be a page. So I give it less. Fewer clean motions, fewer perfect sentences, more wrong breaths in places that listen. If you find yourself 8 seconds from your own voice, walk your loop anyway. Do the ordinary work that buys dawn. Write what you saw. Don't read what writes you. And when steel learns your name, change your hand on the latch until it forgets the best part. My father said, "Steel sings if you're decent enough to listen." You stand quiet. You don't force a note. You let the track tell you what it's been holding all day. Name's Caleb Danner, 41, 3rd shift in the narrow gauge yard outside Durango, where the Animas keeps its own hours. I'm not a storyteller. I'm the man with the lantern and the chalk and the gloves that smell like oil even after soap. The river talks like tires on rain, constant and polite. Coal smoke rides the cold low to the ground. It tastes like bitter tea and old mails. Snow wasn't on yet, but you could feel the line where it waits above town. We'd put the excursion set to bed by 23:10. Steam bled slower than paperwork promises. I walked the consist with my lamp low, journal boxes, rods, brake rigging, and chalked my initials at each coupler knuckle I'd verified shut. Gravel here is sharp and honest. It tells you who forgot to lift their feet. Past the ash pit, I came to a gap we leave between the second caboose and the spare flat. 3 feet. Room for a man and his pride. Between those cars, a lantern burned where no lantern should be. Old style. green glass, steady flame. Every lantern I own is LED and union-mandated boring. We haven't run kerosene on nights since a man with more romance than sense singed his mustache. I swung my beam. Metal woke, dull, then bright. The green stayed green, like underwater light in a mine lake. "Hey," I said, "because you have to start stupid before you get smart." No answer. The wick didn't twitch in the draft the river owed me. I checked the knuckle. Pin dropped, tail set, safety chain slack, correct. I tied a red tag to the shank anyway because fear needs homework. "Lantern," I told the air, like I was logging it to the dark. "Unauthorized will remove." I reached, dumb as you hope I wouldn't. Heat met me, not flame. Glass warm like a forehead. The flame shrank when my glove shadow crossed it, then swelled, then breathed, too regular to be a flame with nobody to scold it. I left it there and did the adult thing. Finish your work. I walked the rest of the string. The lantern waited and didn't so much as wink. Yard rules live in your boots. Step high at the frog. Don't trust quiet metal. Don't cut a car with your head in a story. At the buffer stop toward the river, steam from the Big Mikado hung in a long sheet that remembered morning. It folded on itself. It forgot and found itself again. It made a shape with shoulders. My lamp threw a man into it when I moved. The man didn't move when I did. The whistle code somebody played last weekend at the Harvest Festival snuck into my head then, dumb and sticky. Long, long, short, long. The river laughed dry and didn't collect it. Back through the cut, the green lantern between the caboose and the flat had dimmed to a heartbeat. Not mine, slower, countable. 1, 2, 3, pause. 2, 2, 3. Old code, wrong century, same hunger. I don't answer perfect things. The yard office door tried to anticipate my hand, handle down a half-inch before I asked. I changed my move, thumb on the back plate first, then down. Teach doors to forget you. Inside, the log sat open where I hadn't left it. Somebody had written CD in the right margin, same sloppy tuck on the D that I hate seeing in my own hand. Next to it, 2341, cut checked. I hadn't written anything yet. I added a line under it, pressing harder than pride. 2341, cut checked, by me. Paper took both truths without complaint. I radioed Yardmaster, standard voice, nothing to hear but a man bored at a desk. "Lantern in the gap by the spare flat." He laughed like a favor. "Museum piece got loose?" "Maybe," I said, which is a way to say no without feeling dramatic. Back in the dark, the gap held its green pupil steady. I pulled leather and wet cloth from the tool bin, a welder's glove, a rag somebody meant to wash, and went for the base. Kerosene smell should have come. It didn't. Glass felt like breath. The bale creaked metal that doesn't exist in this yard anymore. I lifted it and found a shadow under it that shouldn't have been there, hard-edged, oval, as if a lantern cast noon. The shadow didn't move when I moved the light. I set it back exactly where I'd stolen it from because sometimes obedience earns mercy. Routine again. Brake test on the west end, handbrake wheel at shoulder height, ratchet teeth honesty you can count. While I spun, the coupler pin lifted behind my back, clean, gentle, the exact height my glove prefers. The knuckle wanted to open. Gravity asked, "May I?" "No," I said out loud to a device that doesn't need consent. I set the pin down like a spoon at a quiet table. Steps came from the other side of the cut then. Light, rhythm my boots use when I'm trying not to scare cats. I stepped around the sill. Empty. Still, a new chalk mark had appeared on the adjacent car. CD, white. Then, traced, deeper, as if a child wanted my letters to behave. "Quit," I told the rail. It hummed once, like an old fridge. The river put its 2 cents in, louder, like a coach reminding a team we still had a game. At 0003, the yard went the way yards go at that hour, quieter than a sanctuary full of liars. I signed the clearance on the clipboard. I made another pot of coffee nobody deserved. When I stepped back out, the green was gone. Before relief could be born, I saw the second lantern. It hung 10 cars down, inside the ladder rungs of a boxcar we keep for parts. Same glass, same heat, same breath you could set a metronome to. I walked, slow, counting ties. The coupler pins along the way clicked in sequence, not falling, not rising, just rolling in their holes like mechs being loosened before a song. Each pin stopped when I came even with it. My father's line punched me then. Steel sings if you're decent enough to listen. I wasn't decent. I was being auditioned. At the second lantern, I set my hand on the car sill to steady myself. My glove stuck a hair, as if the paint had remembered a warmer noon. From the inside of the boxcar, no wind, paper moved. A sheet slid under the door and stopped against my boot. Yellow, brittle. A switch list from a year we don't brag about. In a neat old hand, someone had written a block of cars with chalk, origin, destination, then scribed my initials in the corner in pencil, then traced them too hard, underlined twice. "I'm not that good," I told the paper. It believed me. "You can leave any time you don't owe pride rent." I didn't. I kept walking. Along the lead, the whistle from the festival crept back, except nobody in town was up to play it now. I heard the 4 notes the way you hear your name under a train. Felt, not heard. Long, long, short, long. It matched my breath because I'd been a fool and given it a tempo. I switched the tempo wrong on purpose. In to 3, hold to 2, out to 5. The air didn't like it. The notes fell apart like someone dropped a string. At the yard tool shed, the padlock tried to unlatch for me the way my front door does when I've been lonely too long. I turned the shackle the opposite way and taught it humility. Inside, on the bench, lay a hand lantern I actually own, black plastic, scratched, and next to it a blown glass green chimney that belongs to no present year. The chimney had a line of ash along one side that looked like writing rubbed away. I touched it and got coin taste in my mouth, old pennies, like fear decided to climb into my teeth. Back out, the second lantern had moved without moving, same ladder, higher rung. It watched the yard, if glass can watch. Down by the river, the steam sheet leaned into itself and made a figure again. Shoulders, then a head with no interest in convincing you it had a face. I stepped between the caboose and the flat again and found the first lantern back where I first saw it. This time, the flame answered me. When I inhaled, it shrank. When I exhaled, it swelled. When I held my breath, it held its own. Practicing, getting it clean. My heart made the mistake hearts make and tried to be helpful by getting louder. I placed my palm on the knuckle. Cast steel is colder than thinking. The pin lifted itself to halfway, asking, "Stay," I said, to a thing that asks for meals in fingers. It trembled once, like an eager dog. I went to the buffer stop and stared at the river like it owed me a plan. The Animas shrugged. When I looked back, the lantern flame had stepped down to blue at the base, a clean burn, then volume, then a low, steady thrum I felt more than heard. The coupler behind it rolled shut without the pin. The knuckles kissed and held on shape alone. Not possible. Pretty. I set the pin anyway. I don't leave romance to do math. Footsteps again. My footsteps, improved, shorter heel drag, better toe lift. I watched ballast crush and rebound where no boot stood. Then a handprint bloomed on the car side at shoulder height. 4 good fingers, a thumb wrong by a joint, like a glove that's learned but never worn a hand. "Not tonight," I said to the shape the steam wanted me to meet. At 1:11, I made my report shorter than any lie could be. "Yard secure." "Copy," the board said, without a man in it. I killed the lanterns by not touching them, turned my back, and kept walking until I had to trust my own land. When I looked again, green stayed where it wanted to be. 2 steady eyes watching over an arithmetic I didn't sign. The office clock, which never kept faith with time, landed on 01:17 and refused to leave it for 3 minutes. Paper on the clipboard dried like it had been rained on in a building. I poured coffee that punished me and took it anyway. Home smelt like dryer sheets and Bachelor. At 3:27, the bathroom fan hummed one polite note and stopped. In the mirror, steam bloomed and cleared in a cadence I knew too well. Inhale, exhale, pause. 2, 2, 3. From the bedroom wall, a metal tick answered, the sound of a coupler pin thinking about being brave. "Not in here," I said. My voice sounded good and tired, like a man who meant the rule. I changed my door hand, thumb on the backplate before down, and opened pour, so my house would unlearn me kindly. If you need rules that keep you paid and put together, don't let your breath match anything that isn't you. Set the pin, even if the knuckles are kissing pretty. Change your hand on every latch until doors get bored of you. Write on paper. Don't let paper write you first. If a flame learns to breathe with you, starve it. Breathe wrong on purpose. Walk away in sequence, not in story. I still walk the Animas at night. Track still tells me what it's held all day. Some nights a green lives in the corners of the yard like a habit someone refuses to break. Some nights the steam goes square-shouldered and waits for me to decide if I'm decent enough to listen. I'm decent enough to leave. When a song wants my lungs, I give it boots on gravel, chalk on steel, and a list written plain that says what got set and what didn't. I don't whistle. I don't answer. I let the river keep the echo. If you find a lantern where no one signed for it, check the pin. Set it yourself. Teach your breath to misbehave until the light forgets you. Then go home by the streets that don't learn hands, and sleep with your door too dumb to greet you, and let the yard sing to itself without your name stitched in. Rule 1. Above tree line. Count your breaths, not your miles. Rule 2. Cairns are suggestions, not parents. Rule 3 I added for myself last season. Don't whistle unless you want the mountain to practice you. I'm Renee Halverson, 30, backcountry ranger out of the Longs Peak trailhead. Shoulder season. Too late for tourists in cotton, too early for the January hardheads. That night was a sweep. Boulder Field up to the Keyhole Shelter, weather permitting. One overdue permit group who had texted a "we turned back" and then turned off their phone. Freeze thaw leaves the rocks sugared, just enough to make your ankles honest. My headlamp caught mica like cheap stars. Wind braided itself across the tundra and tugged at the hood in tidy little lies, promising calm just around the next boulder. I do this alone more than my mother appreciates. I sign out. I carry more than I want. I talk to the stone hut at the keyhole like it's a co-worker who minds their own business. The hut was a black shape with a good roof. The keyhole itself, those famous stacked blocks with the window on the world, was a darker shape with teeth. The boulder field below sat patient, like an audience that knows the lines better than the players. I logged my time at the trail register and started my breath count. 4 in, 6 out. At altitude, the numbers matter more than maps. Your brain tries to leave your head if you let it. Halfway to the hut, the old elk bugle rolled down from above the Agnes Vale side. High, thin, right where you'd expect in rut, if we weren't past it by weeks. I stopped, not for the sound but for the shape under it, like someone had copied a call from a clean recording. Ears play tricks up high, sound bounces, but it had the tempo of speech, not of animals. The kind of sitting in a throat confidence I don't like to hear outdoors. All right, I told the wind, which is to say myself. No heroics. Hut, weather, trace, home. The hut door stuck, like it always does when snow pretends to be masonry. I changed my hand on the latch, thumb back, then down, so it wouldn't learn me. Inside smelled of cold granite, old sweat, 1,000 stories left to air out. Soot lines above the tiny window made a map of past bad ideas. I wrote the basics in the log. 2042, in, wind 30 gusting 40, snow grains, visibility thin, no human sign yet. The previous entry had my initials printed too clean to be mine, and too deep to be the pencil. RH, pressed like a stamp. Under it, small, neat letters. 1:47. Wrong time. No date, no voice. I let it sit. Outside, the wind spread itself wider and softened. One of those false mercies that send good people onto the ledges when they should be drinking cocoa, arguing about crampon brands, and not dying tonight. The bugle came again, closer, once, twice, then exactly matched to my breath as I counted out loud to keep pace with my feet. In to 4, eerily long note. Out to 6, taper, perfect. I clamped my mouth shut and climbed in the old way, hands on rock so stone can tell you what it's planning. The cairns across the ledges wore ice caps like bad hats. They were where they always are, until they weren't. One stack 2 feet taller than my plan had noted last week, rocks selected with an eye for smoothness instead of utility, like someone reorganized the yard to impress a guest. You fix cairns when they're wrong, the way you fix your own collar without thinking. I knocked the extra down and rebuilt to me height, 3 stones, broad base. When I stood, there were 5 instead of 3. No sound of stone on stone, just the result. I backed up and laughed once because I am that kind of scared. I took the extra 2 off, set them aside, and counted breaths to cool shame off my face. The bugle slid under the laugh and tried to hold it up. It had learned my little mid-sentence hitch I hate in recordings. Not for you, I told the night, because I like to imagine it has manners. On the ledges, your world is rock, air, and the conviction that gravity is a gentleman if you address him correctly. I moved patient, left palm on the warmest-looking part of cold stone, right boot finding the old smears. I refused the temptation to look down at the trough until it forced me with a gust that flattened my hood. When I looked, the trough was a ribbon of 1,000 excuses all the way to the dark, where headlamps dream of creating context. No human being blinked back. The ridge above the narrows spoke in my mother's voice. Not tonight. So I went back to the hut to respect a voice that has paid rent in my head longer than any ordinance. The door greeted me by trying to be helpful. I changed my hand again, thumb back, pause, down. I don't teach doors my appetite. Inside, I wrote the turnaround in the log. Location, reason, weather, moral injury. Under it, the The pencil had left grooves I didn't make. A tiny arrow pointed to the corner of the page, where an almost invisible graphite rub showed a map. The keyhole, the ledges, a circle where there is no shelter. By the circle, careful print, home. I clicked my lamp off and on twice to shake out the shadow lies. The rub stayed. The bugle sounded from the hut's leeward side. Not far, not where the wind would carry sound from below. It had my mouth in it, my vowel. I breathed wrong on purpose. 2 in, 5 out. Silence tried to be offended. The next bugle wobbled to find me again and failed for 1 beat. I packed up to go home like a professional who doesn't argue with the weather or the thing imitating the weather. Wind stood up from the other side like a scout changing places with a guard. Spindrift flew low and fast, tiny knives pretending to be flour. My footprints back toward the boulder field had grown cousins, cleaner, straighter, better knee drive. Mine improved without me. Not helpful, I said to my own echo in the hood. At the first big block, where people take triumphant photos in August, a headlamp blinked from behind stone. 1 polite blink, then off. No warmth of batteries, no human scuff in the drift. When I went around, it blinked from the next block along, exactly matched to where I would be if I had chosen a slightly different life. I let it lead 2 cairns and then stopped dead on purpose. The lamp did not. It continued a step and waited for me there, as if teaching me how to arrive. I radioed base low power, nobody to wake, just the comfort of hearing my own whisper in a speaker. Halverson, keyhole hut sweep completed. Weather building, no party located, returning. 8 seconds later, my radio gave me the same report back, with my private sarcasm filed off the edges, like someone had cleaned it for a museum. The boulder field is ankle grammar. You parse it wrong, you pay. I moved like a meticulous liar and let my knees do the reading. Halfway across, centered on nothing, a set of boot prints met mine at a right angle. Bare, no tread. Deep, like someone real had been heavy and careless. The toes pointed toward me. Between each print, a smooth drag, like a palm the size of my own hand, laid flat on the snow and pulled. I counted breaths to 4 and back. The bugle answered on 4. In, out, in. Not elk. Me. I took the crampons off because the rock had gone from ice glass to sugar to indifferent, and I wasn't going to give a mimic my rhythm in steel. Bare boot on stone is honest. It tells you when you've earned respect. The cairns ahead reset themselves again. 3 stones, then 5, then 3, then 5, timed to my breath, until I held it and watched a rock hesitate, reconsider its plan, and stay put. I let air go in a sigh that would work in a meeting and not in a storm. The rock changed its mind and took its place on the stack with tidy form. By the trail register, the plastic sleeve with a pencil on a string had twisted itself 3 times around the post, the way bored things amused themselves. I unwound it. The sheet on top had my name printed in tidy school teacher block, and my initial R crossed the wrong way, low and long. The signature flaw I haven't fixed because pride wears petty well in November. Under time out, someone had written 147 again. Wrong clock, right superstition. I erased it because small wars are how you stay humble and alive. The pressed groove of it remained, smug as fossil. Down at the trailhead outhouse, blessed be whoever thought of 4 walls at 11,000 feet, the latch moved before my hand again, anticipating like a too eager friend. I changed it, palm first, lift later. The door stuttered. I smiled at it, the way you smile at a dog who has just realized it is not the one who takes itself out. Home is a cheap apartment with good heat and a neighbor who thinks my job is glorified hiking. At 147, my hallway smelled like wet wool I didn't own. I leaned a boot against my door because theater comforts lizard brains. Inside, the room did that thing rooms do when they're deciding whether to remember you or let you be a stranger. I kept lights low and counted breaths while water boiled for tea. From the window, 3 floors up, a bugle rose from the alley. Not a cat, not a kid with a prank. No reverberation like a can. Clean. It matched the whistle I used to locate partners in tree-lined glades. 1 long, 2 short, hold, exact. I didn't go look. I let the kettle hide the note, and it tried to learn the kettle's hiss and failed. It is a blessing to bore your predator. When I turned the knob to the bedroom, the door tone in my head told me to change my hand. I did. Palm first, then twist. I'm a woman of ritual and petty survival. On the dresser sat my permit book. I leave it at the office when I'm smart. Tonight I had been sentimental and put it in my pack to feel like paperwork was a rope. It had been moved open to a blank page. In the margin, neat small letters. Home. I closed it. Not firm, just final. If you need rules that buy you the next morning, count breaths, not miles. The mountain will borrow either. Make it work for the good one. Don't whistle at altitude unless you want the wind to study you. Fix cairns by hand. Don't let hands you can't see fix them for you. Change your door hand every time. Don't teach latches your favorite way in. If something returns your calls perfectly, starve it. Breathe wrong. Go home. Longs will be there next week, wearing a sky that makes liars of postcards. The keyhole will watch 100 headlamps learn humility, and 1 or 2 people forget rules they once loved. I'll sign out again when the weather pretends it likes me. I'll carry too much and talk to stone like it's an old coworker who doesn't gossip. I'll fix the stupid cairns people build for photographs. I'll not answer the thing that borrows my breath and calls itself an elk. If you go up when the season is between moods and the rocks wear that sugar glaze that invites knees to pray, take your rules in your pocket like matches. Count breaths. Change hands. Leave cairns honest. And when the bugle knows exactly when you inhaled, let it make its own music without your lungs. The mountain isn't hungry. It's curious. Curiosity wears you out quicker than weather. Guest ledger, 1:47 a.m. A neat black line where a name should be. Under it, in pencil, my handwriting copied too carefully. You. I'm Jonah Pike, 33, off-season lodge sitter in St. Elmo, row of cabins, 1 general store, and a winter that acts like it owns the deed. Owners pay me to be heat, hands, and eyes. Keep pipes honest, roofs light, books true. End of October. Aspen gold gone, creek thin as wire. Every porch has a bell with a personality, some brass, some mean. At night, the boardwalk is good bones and bad habits. The generator sits behind the lodge in a shack that thinks it's still a shed. When it behaves, it hums like polite talk. When it doesn't, it sputters like a lie remembering details. First week it started correcting me. Clipboard, kilowatt H, 18.4. Morning, same ink, same hand, 17.1. Meters agreed with the lie, not with me. I copied both because people file what they fear. Cabin 6 is the worst door. Swollen jam, latch with a half-inch grudge. Its rhythm is lift, pause, push. I changed it to push, pause, lift so wood wouldn't learn me. It stuttered, then behaved like a student who recognizes a pop quiz. Inside, the guest ledger lay open on a blank line. Someone had underlined the date twice with a ruler steadier than most guests. I closed it softly, like you do with an animal that isn't yours. Evenings, I carry sand for steps and nails for screens. I leave one lamp on in each cabin, a small proof of intention, then count bells as the street settles. It should add to 7. All week it climbed to 8, always at 1:47 a.m. Ding ding, ding 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 ding, ding. Too exact for wind, too polite to be me. I wrote 1:47 on the kitchen chalkboard. Morning, the same time echoed under 5 other days. My letter shapes, smaller. I erased them. The grooves, the dead portable on the office shelf, hissed once and quit. I draped a towel over it the way you end arguments with birds. Rules out here are matches. Count breaths when creek fog stands up. Don't test a latch the same way twice. Don't read a ledger that writes you first. Cabin 3 keeps heat like an old dog. I tapped the thermostat to hear the relay click. It clicked. 8 seconds later, it clicked again by itself, like the room had decided to agree on its own schedule. On the office keyboard, hooks 1 to 12, an extra key sat on 6. Shiny, square cut, tag stamped, home. Wrong font, right size. Keys are oaths. Ghost towns collect oaths for sport. I left it. The store's back room holds summer in hibernation, paddles, enamel cups, a postcard rack that coughs when you spin it. I found the rack turning gently. Drafts happen. Still, someone had moved the Colorado cards to the front and tucked St. Elmo behind, like a scar hidden for company. On the counter, a small slate wore graphite rubbings from receipts. In one corner, my J pressed deep. My kilowatt-hour notes had left grooves I hadn't known I'd made. I wiped the slate. The rubbings stayed. Nights narrowed. Snow rehearsed. At 1:47, porch bells answered a knock I hadn't made. 3. Pause. 2. 2. 3. Old code wearing new brass. I didn't answer. I don't answer perfect things. The ledger began practicing me. Where guests write names, it penciled what I say when I'm tired. Checked stove, 2213. Grooves too deep, like a child tracing a wrist. Next night I bought new pens, blue, fine tip. Morning, blue ink in the ledger and strokes I use when I hurry. Lamp in 4 is not a gentleman. I say that, I don't write that. At 3 o'clock, the gen shack coughed, then evened. Oil, fuel, exhaust, honest. Hour meter ticked a decimal back like a timid apology. The drawer resisted, then accepted the negotiation. I moved through cabins like a man walking a museum of his own habits. Glove by cabin 2 flipped palm up when I know I left it palm down. Cabin 9 doormat nudged a 1/4 inch left, the way I straighten things when my head insists. Cabin 5 alarm clock flashed 1:47, though no breaker tripped. So I changed my door hand on every latch. Up, pause, down, in. Push, drag, lift out. Teach wood to forget. The knock returned, street side, 3 boards down on the siding. 3, pause, 2, 2, 3. Porch bells followed like a choir that had finally memorized me. I didn't answer. I fought paper with paper. Kitchen chalkboard, 1:47, bell number 8, do not answer. Morning, Someone added smaller, polite, "Please." I erased it. The P groove stayed. The home key left hook 6 and lay on the desk by my truck keys, smiling like a cousin. I didn't touch it. Cabin 7 is the lonely one. Inside, the ledger page creased where no hand had turned it. It read, Jonah Pike, 33, caretaker, in. Below, out 147, no date. I wrote, "Don't write me." Pencil pressed deeper after me. "Don't write me." My low cross on the T copied perfectly. I closed the book and weighted it with menus. Paper ignored physics politely. At 147, the street inhaled. Porch bells rang my knock. Inside cabin 7, the ledger shivered under the menus and slid an inch toward the edge. I put my hand on the stack. It warmed like a forehead. In the office 2 rooms away, a key tapped wood. The generator eased down 1 tooth, then back, as if being taught a new song. I breathed wrong on purpose. 2 in, 5 out. The ledger flattened like a scolded cat. Bells unraveled into wind. Morning sky, coin-colored. I shoveled, salted, made a list to pretend a plan was a door. Replace 6 strike. Hide home key. Recalibrate meter. Stop teaching the street my rhythm. Tape met fridge. Slid. The list folded itself on the floor like a letter you regret. Office knob tried to finish my thought. I changed it again. Push first, then down, then lift. Wood forgot me. The home key lay on my chair. A neat block note under it. Fits. I carried it with 2 fingers like a wet leaf and dropped it in a drawer with rubber bands and untrusted batteries. The drawer shut, then opened 1 inch to keep talking. A man who wintered here before me said, "Feed places, routine, not attention. Roofs love repetition more than men. Don't give them your good jokes, save those for town." So I starved the ledger with routine. I ran the stairs the wrong number of steps on purpose. I changed the porch bell order and stuck to it. I breathed off-tempo at corners so walls couldn't count me. The ledger kept up, added a second U under the first, smaller, eager. I didn't read it aloud. You don't feed things your mouth. The first sticking snow came at dusk. In the office, the key hooks clicked, counting towards 6. When I looked, all keys sat innocent. The drawer with home had slid open 1 inch, showing loyalty. I pushed it shut until the cabinet made the tired, married sound old buildings make when asked to agree. It stayed shut, for now. Sand bucket rounds. On cabin 4's last step, my footprints took a short detour left I hadn't taken, better balance than mine. From the alley, a baby cry tried to hatch, clean, close, practiced. I don't run to perfect children in ghost towns. I stood, counted to 4 and back. The cry matched me until I held my breath. Then it stumbled and quit. I left loud on purpose so the street could count me wrong. Back in the office, a white envelope waited on the ledger. Inside, a Polaroid nobody took. My empty chair, a doorway, a key on a desk. Margin, Jonah in my hand. Back, Jonah out, 147, in tidy school letters that trace me too kindly. I slid it under the drawer where spiders and warranties go to forget us. At 147, St. Elmo inhaled again. Porch bells rang my code. The store bell rang a second, too quick, like laughter. The home key, wherever I'd hidden it, tapped once inside wood. The generator hummed a bar lower, then returned. I didn't move. Under my fingertips, the ledger's paper fibers rose on inhale and sank on exhale. I kept breathing wrong until the page lay flat and bored. Next morning, I walked to the creek with the home key. Water keeps confidences, rock won't. I tossed it where current pretends to slow. It didn't sink. It drifted upriver an inch, then settled against my boot like a dog. I nudged it away with the broom handle. It came back and rested, pleased. I took it home instead, because sometimes surrender is step one of a rule. At my apartment, the key fit the front door clean. No filing, no jiggle. The lock gave a polite click I've never heard. I changed my hand, palm first, then turn, and told the door it had remembered a stranger. If you need rules that keep St. Elmo on the other side of the glass, don't read a ledger that writes you first. Keep counts wrong on purpose, steps, bells, breaths. Change your door hand until wood gets bored of you. Set your own kilowatt hours. Let numbers argue without your mouth. When a key arrives with your name pressed into its tag, don't see where it fits. It already knows. I still sit the winter. I file what I fear. I shovel steps and talk to the generator like a reluctant uncle. Some nights at 1:47, a bell rings in a rhythm I won't own. Some nights the ledger opens one line and closes like a yawn. Some nights my apartment door gives the lodge's polite click under my hand, and I change the move to remind it I belong to other wood. Places learn you. Ghost towns are just towns that studied harder. If you come when the postcards have given up and the plough knows your name, bring rules like matches. Light one when the ledger lifts. Light another when the bells count you. Save one for when a key with the wrong tag appears on your chair and asks to go home. Don't answer perfect things. Breathe wrong. Leave the book shut. Let winter practice on someone lazier. Colorado pretends it's all sky and clean edges, but tonight you heard the other curriculum. Steel that sings back, doors that memorize hands, systems that file you, mountains that borrow your breath, and towns that return your name with better penmanship. If any part of this felt familiar, if your latch sometimes moves before you touch it, if the radio answers in your mouth, if a light breathes with you, don't give it clean patterns. Breathe wrong on purpose. Change your hand. Write what you see. Don't read what writes you. And above all, don't answer perfect things. Not the knock that comes back in your exact rhythm, not the whistle that times your inhale, not the voice that knows your tired vowel. You've been watching Horror Nexus. Drop your thoughts in the comments. What rule did you add to your list tonight? If these confessions reached you, subscribe, tap the bell, and share this with someone who still trusts their doors. Sleep with the latch you didn't teach. Count breaths, not miles. And when the room says your name exactly right, let it practice on silence.